Hello everybody and welcome to Vimmerby and the webinar with me, Rasmus Andersson from Aura Light and
Matti Westerinen from Helvar.
And we are going to talk about how to improve energy efficiency and indoor environment with smart lighting. We will showcase how we replace the lighting here in our factory in Vimmerby. And we will also share how we integrate Helvar's insight to optimize energy use and enhance comfort for our people here in our factory. So it will come, if you have any question, please send it into the chat and we will answer the question in the end of the webinar. So Matti, let's start.
Yes, thank you, Rasmus. So let's get started with the directive, which is very important when we talk about energy efficiency, and that is the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. If you call here the acronym EPBD, you will know now what it stands for. And the reason behind this directive is the fact that most of the buildings in European Union have been built a long time ago. And furthermore, many of these are very poor in their energy efficiency. So EU naturally wants to enforce directive to allow better performing buildings. Also, around 40% of the energy consumed in EU is actually from buildings. So that means that also while the buildings operate, they need to become more and more energy efficient. Finally, 1/3 of the EU's energy-related greenhouse gas emissions come from buildings. So there is a lot of reasons why to look at the energy performance of the buildings, and lighting is one part of those building technologies in question. The focus in the EPBD is actually in renovation. As you saw in the previous slide, most of the buildings we have in Europe actually have already been built. And that is why the focus is on renovating and starting the renovation from the worst performing buildings, and public buildings are in forefront of that list as such. It is not just trying to force us to use very expensive methods on how do you build energy efficiency, but it also actually aims to bring cost-effective methods. How do you monitor it and make it practical for building owners to make their buildings more energy efficient? Air quality, indoor air quality indeed, is the one important aspect in the EPBD as well as then the digitalization, which allows to monitor and have interfaces between the different building systems so that we can also improve them as a whole. If we look at the timeline, you can see that a year ago, the latest directive came in force, and now the next milestone is already around the corner, and that is May next year. And that's when some of the first European Union countries will start to have these in the laws, and also UK is one of the countries, even though they are not part of the European Union itself. There are multiple aspects. One part is automation, and that is the technical building system automation. And that starts first from the bigger buildings, and then over the years, the limit on the energy consumptions come down so that also the smaller and smaller buildings are included under this directive and the laws that the countries will apply. There is smart ready indicators, there is energy performance certificates, and the purpose of these is to allow us to rank also the buildings so that we can understand how well they are actually performing with different aspects, be it now then cooling, energy consumption of it, lighting there, ventilation. So we need some kind of ranking scheme in order to see where do we focus, what are the buildings that need to be renovated first, etc. Indoor environmental quality standard is an important aspect, especially when it comes to lighting. So that's where we find a lot of lighting related practices and standards that we should apply with. 2050 is the date when basically everything should be net zero neutral, but there are a lot of then steps before that. And for example, 2035, 55% of energy reductions should be achieved already on EU level. So it means that we must start acting now. What is then Lighting Europe doing? Naturally, they are promoting the lighting related aspects of this. And as you can see, we are highlighting the need on renovation side. And whenever there is a renovation, we should look at the overall lighting, not just to replace with LEDs, but also to include sensing capabilities, control capabilities, because those are the major points in buildings' lifetime when we have the opportunity to impact how the building is performing then going forward. And focus is on non-residential, and that's where we want the governmental buildings, the public buildings, to actually drive it and show how it is done and how it can be done. And then the bigger corporation will follow together with then smaller and smaller companies as well.
And we have already started. Remember fluorescent? The ban was 2023 for fluorescent T5 and T8, and compact fluorescent lamps were phased out due to the EU directive. But still, a lot of these lamps are still in use and need renovation and replacement. So what can we do with that? We can start. One example is to start to change to a smart luminaire, like our Cleva that you see on the picture here. Cleva is designed and developed here in our factory in Vimmerby. We have chosen different materials like recycled aluminium on the body with a organic PC cover to really secure that we have the lowest possible footprint of CO2 when it leaves the factory. And also when it leaves the factory, we secure the delivery to the customers that we choose transportation with low CO2 footprint. However, the major energy savings occur during the lifetime of a luminaire. And in addition, with smart lighting control, the energy savings will be even greater, like when we integrate it with Helvar's Active Ahead, for example.
Correct. And in addition to lighting or luminaires, cabling is an important embodied carbon source. So that is why when we do renovation, we should try to avoid or at least limit the cabling we do, the cabling renewal we do, because otherwise we are just adding on the carbon footprint, and that becomes worse and worse for the nature. Luckily, there is wireless lighting controls, which allows us still to have all the benefits of lighting controls by reusing the mains cables that already exist in the building, and we still can do, say, daylight harvesting, grouping, occupancy-based controls, and to monitor the system with, for example, the Helvar Insights as such. Next up, we're going to show you a video from the Vimmerby factory, where you can see a bit how this renovation has been done and how it actually looks like at the factory.
We decided to renovate our factory a couple of years ago, and we choose this new luminaire Helix that is produced here in Vimmerby and also developed. We use recycled aluminium, 75%, and you can also equip this with different LMS systems, especially Active Ahead, where you can choose if you want a wireless luminaire with just a node inside. You can have it with a sensor and node, and you can also have it with all and connect it to the external sensor.
Yes, and here I have samples of those products. This is the high bay version, which can be integrated and is also in use in this factory with this product here. Also, these are available for, say, standard heights in black, white, and gray as well. And we have also the same colors without sensors. So, say, office application, education can be then used with these ones. And as you mentioned, the DALI luminaires, they can then be used with our node multi-sensors, which has integrated DALI power supply unit to power the communication line towards the luminaires.
And in this way, we have installed now the active ad system. The last step that we have done now together with you is to implement it into Helvar's insights, and that you will tell us more about.
Yes. All right. So now you've seen how it looks like here, what kind of luminaires and sensors have been used in the setup here. And now we want to talk about how do we now then monitor what you can do to improve your system overall, not just lighting, but also say ventilation, etc. In order to do this, we need data. So data allows us to do decisions based on facts, not just something that I think it is good, but in order to do real fact-based decisions, we need data. And that's where the Helvar Insights comes to the picture. So it's a cloud-based platform to where we can collect the data from the lighting system as well as the environmental sensors now connected also, for example, to this factory we are in. That allows us to do better maintenance, plan better when do you do the maintenance, and also then improve not just lighting, but also the work environment for the people who are working in this factory here. It's data-driven, as said. It is human-centric, meaning that you don't need to take any courses in order to be able to understand how the data looks like and how it can be used. It's based on cloud and it's future-proof, so can be also updated with new features when they come along. The first module within Helvar Insights, the base module, is called Monitoring and Control. That allows us to see the faults that are in the system, but also then instructions how you could potentially fix the problem, whether it's a faulty sensor or luminaire, so you can plan better when do you do the change, and also potentially it allows you can do it also within the system without touching even, say, luminaires in the ceiling. This is also the landing page when you log into the system and open a site. And the faults notifications are real time. You can choose which kind of faults do you want to see and get, for example, to your email. So the lower minor notifications you can ignore and potentially just view while you are logged into the platform, but then any critical ones you might want to act upon immediately. It also allows you to do remote control with scene settings, scheduling, and as said, allows you to plan your maintenance so that your building is continuously up to date. You know where there potentially are faults and you know how they can be fixed and plan when do you do it. Also, there is emergency lighting and testing. So for the countries where emergency lighting reporting is necessary, Helvar Insights can automate those reports, and so you get your monthly and yearly tests and reports done. And again, you can act upon the potential faults visible in the reports. The second module is operating insights. This module focuses on the energy consumption. You can see data from the luminaires, how much they have consumed. You can drill into the areas in the system and over time see a comparison. How have you improved your energy consumption within the lighting as such? Occupancy insights, as the name says, it drills down to how the spaces are used. So the heat map shows you on, let's say, red, the areas which are more used than the lighter areas, and you can see on a floor plan where the sensors are located and where people are mostly moving, and you can also play it on different dates and see how people actually utilize these spaces. And the trends are there. So if you do a change, you can see how that now impacts. Whether it's something you change in lighting, whether it's something you change in ventilation, will that actually now impact, for example, how and where people are then doing their work on an, say, open plan office. The well-being insight is the latest module, and this is drilling down to the environmental data. So total volatile organic compounds, humidity, temperature, CO2, the different senses than just the occupancy and light what we are used in lighting to offer. You can set your thresholds, so limits when you should get maybe an alert from the system that, hey, this area or this sensor is giving you too high CO2 levels, so you should do something about it. Also allows you to drill down on the details that, hey, how do you optimize not just the lighting, but the other systems like, for example, HVAC. Your schedules might be right off, and you can optimize based on the data you get from the environmental sensors. If we look at a couple of examples from not from this Vimmerby site, but from other sites we've done with Helvar Insights, couple of simple examples to show examples how our customers have used the data. The first one is on fault triggering sensors. So sensors which turn on lights during the night time while they naturally should not turn it if there is no one there. So on left-hand side picture, you can see that lights have gone on and there has been occupancy during the night time while there has been no one there, meaning the sensors have so-called fault triggered. After changing the sensors, it looks like it should, meaning nighttime, there is no occupancy peak there. It's only on the expected levels. Other example is with the HVAC schedules, and this is actually something we can see in almost all the sites we have now used Helvar Senses in. And also in your site, there has been already like optimizations done for the HVAC. For example, in this picture, we have a weekend day, I think it's Saturday, and while there is no one there, we can see that the ventilation still has been on during the early morning hours as well as then during the evening. So during the weekends, we would typically just allow the TVOC to be on a higher level, because if there is no one there, we do not need to make the air clean yet for the people who would come to work there. So this will allow us to optimize the schedules on the HVAC system and to use less energy for that. And now we take a look at the Vimmerby factory. Unfortunately, we couldn't share it now live. We had difficulties with the webinar platform here to show it from the live. So we have taken fresh screenshots. So they are from 1 hour ago. So you can see that they are not old data, but they are from this very Vimmerby location. And what you can actually see here
is all the luminaires and all the nodes.
Yes.
This is our warehouse where we do the assembly. We have the stock, we do production. So this is a good picture because we don't have any faults.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this is the landing page where when you log in, if you would have faults, they would be visible here. So say broken device or something, they would be shown here. You could click on the device in question and see what is wrong with the device, and also a suggestion that how you might go about in improving and fixing the situation. But now, as you see, it's all all good at Vimmerby factory here.
Like it should.
Like it should.
Yeah.
The next one is occupancy. So maybe you can highlight what we see here.
We can use this in our daily work task as well when we plan how we have our products in the factory and so on. And you see on the red area here, we have our assembly where we are a lot. But if you look down in the bottom right corner where we have our stock, here you see it's a little bit movement in the left side area. But imagine if it had been red on the bottom right area where is the longest way from the assembly. Then we can use this data to optimize where we put our products, our components in our factory. So this is a tool, and not just for lighting. It's also how to plan our production, you can say.
Yes, correct. And that is also exactly the way we should use it, not just to improve the technical side of the systems, but also the human side of the system. How do we make it better for the people who work at this factory here? We have also the graphs for this one. The insights on the factory here was set up a week ago, so we don't yet have a long duration, long history of data, but you can already see that there will be then graph showing the occupancy levels. You can drill down and select, for example, certain spaces within the building to see how that space is actually used, and then compare it on monthly level, for example. So you see how it evolves and how the trends are in the system. Naturally, there also is lighting, as it should be. It's a lighting control system, so we get also the data on what is the light output level on each luminaires. Here you could also then remotely see that, hey, there's lights on while there should not be. The example I gave earlier on the sensors being false triggering, they would be visible for here, for example. And I think already actually there was one location here, you saw that there is a heat pump next to it. So you are going to change the location of that sensor so that it's not then triggering, for example, during the night when the heat pump goes on.
Yeah.
Then energy, the next module here. And as I said, we only turned these on a couple of days back, and from now on you will then be able to see how the energy consumption of the lighting evolves. If you do any changes, they would be visible then hopefully in the graph as well. So either if you of course turn light output levels higher, you will consume more. If you optimize your sensor timeouts, for example, it should be visible in the graphs here, so that you can follow and do reports on your energy consumption. Then,
and the well-being, we talked about this together with the management team here in Vimmerby also, that we really secure that the people out in the factory really have a good working environment with the right temperature and etc. And you told it before that you can put high and low, so we get alerts when it's too hot or too cold, and also the CO2 and so on. So this is also a tool for the people. Not just lighting control, that this we can really use and see our work environment and improve it if needed.
Yes. So you are able to set the limits, thresholds, whether the temperature drops too low or goes too high, you might get an alert. The same, of course, with all the values here. If we look at a daily, I think it was from yesterday, this graph for all those environmental sensors now in the building. And this is roughly how it should be, meaning that during the nighttime we allow the TVOX to go higher, and then when the people are actually working there, we should have low level of TVOX in the air. So it's better, people are more healthy, they are more efficient, and they feel better at their job. So more or less important aspect, because we are at the center, I mean people.
Yes. And I see that we have got a couple of questions here, Matti.
Yes.
Yeah, and here, yes. One question we have is, can you combine the wired LMS system with the wireless in Insights?
A good question. So The Helvar Active Ahead you have here is the wireless system from our side, and then we have Helvar Imagine system, which is, let's say, traditionally wired, typically DALI system. And yes, they can be combined both on insights, meaning that, say, you viewing that floor plan, you can see all the devices there, no matter whether they are wired, whether they are wireless, and of course, if it's, for example, your management looking at the occupancy or environmental data, they, of course, don't need to know what is the technology there behind. Of course, then when you go and call maintenance, for example, you see there's a fault, then you need to know what is the exact product there or what is the fault, so you know who to call. But most of the data you see there, they are like technology agnostic. So you can combine them as you wish. It can also have hybrid elements, meaning that the wired and wireless parts can work together on lighting control level on premise as well. But on insights, it all seamlessly gets together and users can see it as one solution.
Yeah. And then one other question is, can you update this over the air? Or do you need to be on site if you have a new software or something in the nodes in Active Ahead or Insights?
Good question. So yes, the nodes can be updated over the air. Also the Helvar Insights, both the cloud side as well as then the controllers which are connecting now the nodes in Active Ahead to the cloud system, both of them as well can be updated. So whenever there are new updates, say features or improvements, then the cloud actually is easy to update, and then we can draw it remotely to the controllers as well. So aim with us is that we continue to try to improve it, try to make it, as said, it's human-centric also, that we try to make it for humans so that there is more value in it. And with Senses especially, we can see that now combining that and finding the right ways of presenting the data is important so that you can improve the other systems in the buildings as well.
And also here you see, is this system future-proof?
A very important question, and that is also kind of the whole, or one of aspect of this EPBD actually, that as you saw, many of the buildings have been built already. Most of them are poor in their energy consumption. And now that you are updating, say, renovating your building, you should consider the upgrading your systems also in it. And that's where the digitalization is important, because that allows you to then improve it further, to get updates, for example, over the air to the system. If there are new innovations, we can include them as well.
Okay. Can you integrate this into a SD? I don't know really what that
is.
SD and leg. We got the question, but we can answer that later on also.
Yeah, we can, of course, some of the questions we can answer then, let's say, privately, if we haven't answered them here as such.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you all for joining this webinar, and thank you, Matti, for coming here and visit and show how to work with Insights.
Yeah, thank you for the invite, and hopefully there was very good information for yourselves, and whenever you renovate next time, do consider how do you improve your lighting as well.
Perfect. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.